You walked into the kitchen for a very specific reason. Then, you just stood there, completely blank, hand on the counter, staring at nothing in particular. Whatever the reason was, it vanished mid-walk without any warning. No trace, no logical explanation. Just gone. This happened yesterday, too. And twice the day before, both times before lunch. Your partner finds this absolutely hilarious, by the way. You do not share that opinion right now. Everyone calls this pregnancy brain and moves on like that explains it. They say it like it is a cute, relatable personality quirk. It is not a personality quirk. What is actually happening inside your skull right now is extraordinary. Not in a funny meme, Instagram caption kind of way. In a measurable, documented, scan it in a lab kind of way. Once you understand what is really going on, the kitchen thing makes complete sense, and you will stop apologizing for it entirely. Here is the part nobody puts in the pregnancy books. Your brain is physically shrinking right now. Not metaphorically, not as a figure of speech, not as an exaggeration. Actual, measurable brain tissue decreasing in volume while you live your ordinary life. Dutch researchers published the first MRI study to document this properly. They scanned women's brains before pregnancy, during, and then after birth. The gray matter loss was visible, consistent, and completely undeniable across every participant. Not one woman in the study was the exception. The pattern was so consistent, researchers could identify pregnancy from the brain scan alone, without asking a single question, just the images, and they knew immediately. And none of this is happening without a very clear biological reason. Your first instinct about what this means is probably exactly wrong. This is not your brain quietly giving up on you from the inside. This is your brain conducting an aggressive, deliberate, targeted structural renovation. And the renovation has a very precise architectural plan behind it. The kind of plan that does not leave room for your keys, apparently, or your colleague's name, or the reason you walked into the kitchen 4 minutes ago. But there is a plan, and it has nothing to do with you forgetting things. It has to do with something considerably more important than forgetting things. The gray matter being lost is not scattered randomly across your brain. Your brain is not losing tissue wherever it happens to feel convenient. It is losing tissue in very specific, very deliberate, very targeted regions. The areas most affected are all linked to one function entirely: social processing, reading people, reading rooms, reading emotions fast. Scientists call this synaptic pruning, and it is not a catastrophe. It is exactly what your brain does during adolescence as well. Think about what that means for a moment. In adolescence, the brain prunes away connections it has decided it no longer needs. During pregnancy, it prunes, and then rebuilds with a completely different and specific purpose. What gets strengthened through this process is your capacity to read other human beings. Specifically, a very small human being who arrives with no vocabulary whatsoever. A person who cannot tell you what they need or where they hurt. Your brain is literally, structurally rewiring itself to understand them without words, to read a cry and know what specific kind of cry it actually is, to detect discomfort before it even becomes an audible sound, to notice something wrong before any visible signal has been given at all. This is not an unfortunate side effect of being pregnant. This is the primary objective, running quietly behind all the kitchen confusion. Your brain is not failing to do its old job. It is training hard for a completely different and far more demanding one. Now consider the specific chemical flooding your brain at full volume right now. Progesterone levels during pregnancy run 15 to 40 times above your normal baseline. 15 to 40 times. Let that fully land before moving on. That is not a minor hormonal adjustment or a subtle chemical nudge. That is your entire neurochemistry being turned up past any reasonable setting. And here is the part that will make you feel completely, profoundly seen. Progesterone is the exact same hormone responsible for sedation and drowsiness in humans, the very same one, doing exactly what it has always done, at overwhelming volume. So when you fall asleep mid-sentence, mid-thought, or mid-something important, that is not laziness. That is 15 to 40 times the normal sedation chemical running through your brain. Your body is managing a concentration that would significantly sedate most animals. And yet you are still expected to hold conversations, answer emails, and function normally. The fact that you are upright and coherent at all is genuinely remarkable. Someone should be handing out small trophies for this specific daily achievement. There is also another layer to the progesterone situation entirely. It suppresses activity in the hippocampus, the region most responsible for forming new memories. Not permanently, not catastrophically, but enough that short-term memory takes a consistent and measurable hit. The phone password you have used for 3 years suddenly requires visible effort. The name of someone you have known for a decade disappears briefly mid-sentence. You are not becoming more careless or less present or less capable. You are being chemically overwhelmed by a substance at 15 times its usual concentration. None of this is a personality flaw developing inside you. This is chemistry doing exactly what it always does, at 40 times normal volume. Here is the reframe that changes everything about how you see pregnancy brain. You are not becoming less intelligent. Not even slightly. Not clinically. Not in any documented, measurable sense. Your brain is making a ruthless decision about where limited cognitive resources go. Everything not related to survival, threat detection, or the babia gets filtered out. Your colleague's first name, filtered temporarily. Where your keys landed 10 minutes ago, also filtered. That email you were definitely going to send 3 days ago, still in the filter. This is not forgetfulness in the casual, dismissive way people use that word. This is your brain running a cold, efficient triage decision every single moment of the day. It decided the baby's needs are priority one and made that call without consulting you. Cognitive neuroscientists have a specific name for this kind of targeted cognitive shift. They call it adaptive forgetting, and it is classified as a feature, not a flaw. Your brain made this reallocation unilaterally, without sentiment, and without hesitation. It looked at the available cognitive budget and made a very clear call about what matters. Your working memory narrows deliberately while your emotional perception sharpens significantly. The things that fall out are not the things your brain considers most critical right now. They are classified as manageable losses in a season with higher and more urgent priorities. You are not losing your edge at all. You are pointing it somewhere completely different. The somewhere it is pointing right now involves keeping a small human being alive, which, by most reasonable standards, is a justified and significant reallocation. Here is what pregnancy brain gets absolutely no credit for in any popular conversation. While your memory for mundane logistics quietly deprioritizes, something else in your brain surges. Your ability to read human emotion becomes sharper than it has ever been before. Researchers showed pregnant women photographs of faces expressing a range of different emotions: fear, anger, disgust, discomfort, subtle unease captured in a single still image. Pregnant women identified those emotions faster than non-pregnant women did across the studies. Not slightly faster, measurably, significantly, and consistently faster every time. They also detected environmental threat signals more quickly and with greater documented accuracy. Better at reading rooms, better at catching shifts in tone and mood. This is your brain rewiring specifically for social intelligence at a critical developmental time. This is not coincidence, and it is not a random bonus you happen to receive. Your brain is being precisely tuned for a job that demands exactly this skill set. A newborn cannot use language to explain what is wrong with them. They cannot point, gesture, or describe their discomfort clearly to anyone. They communicate entirely through a cry, a facial shift, a change in body tension. Your dramatically upgraded ability to read those subtle signals is their entire early communication system. You are being rebuilt into the translator for a person with no other way to speak. The fog in one department and the sharpness in another are running simultaneously in the same brain, on the same day, during the same conversation. Your brain is not in decline. It is mid-transition into something more specialized than it has ever been. Now for the section that quietly explains a great deal about your partnership lately. Your partner's brain has not changed at all, not reorganized, not pruned, not flooded with anything remotely significant. Their brain is running the exact same operating system it has always used, while yours is mid-installation of a different and far more complex version. This is why certain conversations feel slightly tilted right now. You are running new, specialized, emotional processing and threat detection software at full capacity. They are still running the standard version with 0 updates scheduled. They are frustrated you forgot the dentist appointment everyone agreed on. Your brain, in that same window of time, processed dozens of subtle cues about the baby without noticing it was doing any of that. The gap between you two right now is not intelligence, effort, or how much you care. It is that your brain accepted a completely different mission with completely different stakes. A mission with no instruction manual, no paid training, and no days off whatsoever. Your partner's brain has the luxury of allocating resources to dentist appointments freely. Your brain has classified those as low-priority items in a very crowded operational queue. Neither of you is wrong about what you are experiencing right now. You are just operating on fundamentally different software at a very significant time. And one of those versions is considerably more complex than the other. That is not an opinion. That is what the brain imaging data consistently shows. Just one small observation from the peer-reviewed research worth mentioning here. Here is the piece of all of this that stops most people mid-sentence. These changes do not fully reverse after birth. MRI scans taken 2 full years after delivery still show a measurably different brain. 2 full years later, the images are still distinct. Mothers' brains look measurably different from non-mothers' brains in those scans consistently, not in 1 or 2 subtle places. Systematically different, in the same regions, in the same directions, every single time. The researchers described this as one of the most robust neurological findings they had seen. Some of the gray matter volume does return gradually after birth, but the brain that returns is not identical to the brain that started this. It has been rebuilt with different proportions and different priorities locked in permanently. Your brain after pregnancy is literally not the same organ it was before. Not damaged, not diminished, not anything going wrong inside you. Restructured with different weightings and a different sense of what actually matters most. Motherhood, in a strict neurological sense, is an irreversible installation of new priority systems. And that installation was running in the background while you were just trying to cope. While you were making it to work and answering messages and pretending to be fine. Your brain was quietly, systematically rewriting itself from the inside out, without asking for your permission, your awareness, or your approval at any point. So here is what you actually are right now. Not a scattered, foggy, slightly less capable version of your former self. You are a brain in the middle of its most significant restructuring since adolescence. One department is being deliberately downsized, without sentiment and without apology. Another is being aggressively, measurably upgraded in its place. The downsized department handled things like names, locations, and routine logistics. The upgraded department handles reading people, detecting threats, and keeping something alive. Those are not equivalent trades at all. The second set is considerably more critical in this specific season of life. So, yes, you forgot where your keys were this morning. And yes, you told the same story to your partner twice this week. And yes, you stood in the kitchen for a full minute, doing absolutely nothing visible. None of that is your brain failing you in any meaningful sense. That is your brain actively doing something genuinely extraordinary. The kitchen moment is not the story worth telling here. The story worth telling is that your brain accepted a complete internal renovation while you were awake. Not in a metaphor, not as a figure of speech, actually structurally, measurably. In 2 years, that MRI will show a brain that has been permanently changed. Not by accident, not by illness, not by anything going wrong. By the most neurologically demanding biological project a human body ever takes on. You are not forgetting more than you used to. You are noticing entirely different things now. You are catching the baby's breathing before anything feels off. You are reading a room before anyone else in it has spoken. You are translating a cry that has no words yet. The keys will turn up eventually. The name will come back to you in a moment. The part of you that reads a cry before it fully forms. That is brand new. And that part did not exist before this started.